Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Dead Ball Sports podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering the Cavaliers' first loss of the season as they lose to the Boston Celtics. We'll discuss the the Dalton Knecht extravaganza. He had a he had 37 points, and it was able to pave the way for Lakers' victory over the Jazz as they improve on this young season to 10-4 to 10-4. We'll discuss we'll discuss the NFL MVP race as we start approaching late in the last quarter of the season. We'll discuss the Jets owner earlier this season. The Jets owner supposedly suggesting to bench Aaron Rodgers. And make sure you stick around for the end of the show, where I'll be giving you some of my top NFL or some of my analysis on some of the top NFL head coaches that are on the perceived hot seat. If you have a question during the show, we want to hear it. Your input is a big part of what makes this show successful, and we thrive on your energies and insights. Whether it's a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion you just have to share, please don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. And if you want to make absolutely sure your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that. Just use the super chat button at the bottom of this chat box to send in your super chat. This guarantees that your super chat gets on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking. Hit that super chat button, and let's keep this show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can always go to the GSMC podcast on there to tip, donate, or leave a comment or question there. We couldn't do what we do without your amazing support, and we're so thankful to have you as part of our community. We have to start off though. The defending NBA champion Boston Celtics were able to hand the Cleveland Cavaliers their first defeat of the year after a historic start to the Cleveland Cavaliers season, starting off 15-0. They finally lose a game away in the TD Garden to Boston Celtics, and it was a professional victory for the Boston Celtics. They were able to cool off one of the hottest team in the NBA, and based on starts, one of the hottest starts in NBA history. And the Celtics, they jumped out early. They realized the not necessarily the importance in this game in terms of long term, but they realized the circumstances of this game. of what Cleveland was and what they have accomplished up to this point, and there was a different level of energy, not just from the players but the atmosphere itself in TD Garden. It just seemed like it was just more than just or it was more than just a regular season game. It was also an NBA Cup game, but just overall, there was a different feel to it. And Celtics, they came out early, they jammed out. They actually had a 21-point lead over the Cavaliers, but but the Cavaliers were able to be composed despite being late, and they were able to go on a furious run in the third quarter, where they were able to get 40 points. They outscored the Boston Celtics in that third quarter by 12 points and get them right back into the game entering the fourth quarter. It was a very impressive run that the Cavaliers were able to put on late in the second half of the third quarter. It was a competition. It was a 2-point game entering the fourth, because of the Cavaliers' dedication to it. They had Donovan Mitchell. He went off. He had 35 points. He was important in keeping them into the game. He made a few important fourth quarter buckets as well. But at the end of the day, Celtics, they just were able to get it done. They were able to close it off at the end. There was some big time plays. Derek White hit a 3 to give them to extend the lead to 10 points. Then there was the opportunity that came from. There was the bucket that came really late from. It's a mistake in my mind. Who made the layup to make it a 7-point game? It was a layup. Was it Tate? No, it was Jaylen Brown. It was Jaylen Brown. It was a smooth layup, and that made it a 7-point game, and that essentially iced the deal there. And yeah, it was a very impressive win. Jason Tatum was big in this one with 33 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists. Al Horford, his putbacks and his offensive rebounds and just his presence in the paint, he getting 20 points. That was very important. He was actually Boston's second leading scorer. They don't usually get that kind of production out of him of late. This is Al Horford that averages 10 points this season, and what he was able to do, extending the floor, spacing it out, hitting his shots. He went 4 of 5 from 3-point range. And that's just today's basketball. You need your bigs to be able to stretch it, and that gave Boston a different way of attacking, a different dynamism to them, and it just made it difficult for Cleveland to withstand that. And it was look, Cleveland, they were always gonna get their first win eventually. They weren't gonna go 82-0, but I was impressed with the resilience from the Cavaliers, the mental resilience to go away to TD Garden, go down as much as they did, and to claw themselves back into the game slowly, and eventually reach a point where you make it a 2-point game. That to me was beyond impressive. I didn't think they had that in them, and and it proved to me that this team is not a team that's just gonna wheel away into the sunset. The Cavaliers, this is a legit team, and they're building something special. And Kenny Atkinson now coming in, we know Kenny Atkinson going all the way back to the Brooklyn days. He was able, early on in his Brooklyn run, he was able to create this team that was really hard to play against, that got into the playoffs, that relied on D'Lo being that main guy, but also had other players around them that could do their role, like Joe Harris. He was the 3-point specialist. Jared Dudley, he did a lot of the defensive work, and he was able to hit the corner threes whenever it was time for him to hit the corner threes. They had a lot of key component role players, and despite they lacked that, real superstars, they were able to get into the playoffs because of just the team as a whole. Well, Kenny Atkinson, I think what he's able to do now with this team, which does have the superstar that team didn't. And I'm not even trying to be wishful thinking with D'Lo right now, but would you really say D'Lo, even that D'Lo was a superstar? No, he was playing at a really, really good high level, primarily because he's able to have the ball in every possession, and he's, without the ball, he doesn't give you much, but with the ball, there is facets of the game that can be very, 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 very good to take advantage of. They played they in Brooklyn, they were a good team then, but now with Donovan Mitchell having that superstar, and then these role players getting the best out of Mobley, Jared Allen, Darius Garland and the crew, it's been very, very impressive, and obviously there was a little bit of criticism to the Cavaliers after the game from certain fans. They're just being unrealistic. You're not gonna finish 82-0, and if you're gonna lose a game, he should lose to the defending champions and lose in a way to not say necessarily be proud, but in a respectable way to come back and to make that ferocious comeback in the way that they did. I think that's almost a plus, and if I'm one of the teams in the Eastern Conference, besides the Celtics, of course, I would be scared of this Cleveland Cavaliers. 15-0. You have to be one hell of a team to go 15-0. 15-0 doesn't come from luck or just good form or just bad opponents. 15-0 comes from incredible ability, incredible cohesion, and incredible talent with the combination of coaching. And I commend them for that start. This loss obviously is disappointing, but it is something they'll figure out. As far as the Boston Celtics, I mean, they had had a couple of losses, so they weren't number one seed compared to Cleveland, so they're going up against the number one seed, and they're just trying to continue on the momentum that they built from last season, and so far so good. If you're a Celtics fan, looking forward, and you're going to be able to get certain players like Kristaps back that will make immediate big impact into this team. So, I don't really know what else much to add regarding these Boston Celtics. Show break here coming up. When we come back, we will react to Dalton Knecht's 37-point game for the Los Angeles Lakers.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Everybody in the world blind. Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we reacted to the Cavaliers' first loss of the season. We move on. to discuss Dalton Knecht's 37-point game, paving the way for the Lakers as they start off this young season 10-4, much bigger improvement from what they've started off over the last few years as they defeat the Utah Jazz. And they, in regards to Lakers rookies, a lot of the attention has gone to Bronny James, and that's obviously that's expected in the circumstances that he was drafted, being the son of the great LeBron James, and just all the surrounding talk and hype, not hype, but just everything surrounding that. But the real rookie that Laker fans should be looking forward to is Dalton Knecht, who's has had a solid rookie season so far, getting 21 minutes a game in the regular season, and he's averaging 11, 2, and 1, and this past Sunday he was able to get 37 points, 37 buckets. He went to 9 for 12 from 3. Look, I don't care what position you play. If you're playing on the Lakers with LeBron James and you're able to go 9 of 12 from 3, you're going to find your way on the court. Because LeBron and a lot of Dalton Knecht's threes are off the dribble, taking advantage of certain people sagging off and then just firing it. And sometimes being able to shoot over guys because of his length, which he did a lot in college. Actually, he did that a whole lot in college. Only problem though with this thing with Dalton Knecht is that he has not gotten the hype that you are expecting because of all the Bronny James talk and all that. But this is a legit player. I mean, he's 6'6". He could shoot over smaller defenders. He has a good size to him. He can get into the paint and get a bucket there. He's efficient from the field, shoots 52%. He hits his 3-point shot at 6'6" as well. 46% 3-point shooter up to this point. We expect that to go down, but he's just a scorer, Dalton Knecht. And for the Lakers to get him where they got him, I believe it was around the 18th pick or something of that sort. Unbelievable pickup. Unbelievable. The Lakers have made some good moves here and there under Rob Pelinka, where they were able to get Austin Reeves. So, by the way, Austin Reeves, he has been... he has not been at the level so far this season. Austin Reeves has been pretty underwhelming, honestly, so far in the JJ Redick era. Averaging 17.9 points a game, yes, but certain games, cough drop. Certain games he's been pretty inconsistent. He went against the Pelicans. It was 3 of 16. He needs to get that together, because the other option is D'Angelo Russell at the guard position, and we know the frailties of D'Angelo Russell. But yeah, this Lakers team has had a great start. You compare this to starts in the past few years now, this has been amazing. 10-4 start. Just got done beating the Jazz. Before actually the Pelicans game on Saturday, LeBron James had 4 straight triple-doubles. 4 straight triple-doubles. LeBron James did in 2024, age 39. And some people have the audacity to say that he's not in the top 8 or 9. That's just ridiculous. Things like that shouldn't go unchecked. Whether you're in the media, whether you're a former player, giving your power rankings, not naming any names or anything like that, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Whether you're this, whether you're that, things like that shouldn't go unchecked. It's borderline disrespectful. And what he's done for the game and what he's continuing to do for the game, I still think to this day, LeBron James, nobody can attack the basketball the way he can, or attack the rim the way he can. I think nobody is more difficult to stop as a freight train to the basket. And I don't think there's anybody that has the vision, that has the ability to create for his teammates the way that LeBron James has at this point. And yeah, he's just been absolutely sensational. I think he's gonna be 40 in a little bit more than a month now, on December 30th, and that he's still going strong in the NBA as a top player. It's unbelievable to me. And as far as the Los Angeles Lakers, their 10-4 start is a much better start than what we've seen of the Los Angeles Lakers in the past. The Los Angeles Lakers struggle to get consistent winning streaks going, especially to start off the season. Even the season that they reached the Western Conference Finals, and last year that they started off, last year that they reached the playoffs, they had slow starts in both seasons. This 14 points through, they were hovering a little bit under the 500 mark in both of those years. And what JJ Redick has done, this team is playing with more energy, with more discipline in terms of their defensive assignments, in terms of how they move the ball, in terms of, I think you see a little bit more basketball development around this unit when it comes to attention to detail, when it comes to JJ Redick not being afraid to call out certain BS, like with LeBron not putting the shot up that once. We saw JJ Redick, the camera cut to JJ Redick saying, essentially, take the frickin' shot. Or, other moments, we know the D'Angelo Russell situation, where D'Angelo Russell, it was so obvious to see that he just wasn't giving it his all, and how JJ Redick wasn't having none of that. I think this is a culture fix with the Lakers, JJ Redick is, because I don't think JJ Redick will stand with some of the BS that's been with the Lakers over the past few years or so. And and even though he's a rookie coach and he's only aged 40 years old, which is like, I think he's only a few months older than LeBron himself, I still don't believe that affects the respect that he has in the locker room. And maybe that has a lot to do with the fact that LeBron has respect for him. And if LeBron has respect for him, then all the guys down the line better have respect for him. Maybe he has something to do that as well. But specifically in regards to Dalton Knecht, this is a player that I think the Lakers have struck gold on. He's doing this on his rookie season. He's only going to get better for the development. This is somebody I believe can turn into a legitimate, realistic third option for the Lakers with LeBron and AD, and can give them a possibility to do even something this year, which, it's been a while since I've had hope that the Lakers team would accomplish anything. Actually last season I thought last season they had that opportunity to, if they could sneak past the Nuggets, where they had a real opportunity to go deep into playoffs. So other than that, I don't have much hope. I haven't had much hope in the Lakers in a very long time. So it remains to be seen. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will discuss the NFL MVP race.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Also available in O'Keefe's Lip Repair. At Burger King, we flame grill our burgers. Why? Because that's how it should be done. Hot, juicy, smoky, flame grilled, and made your way. Come experience the flame grilled difference with 2 Whopper Juniors for just $5.
These hands cook for 30 people 3 meals a day. I can't stop when I have dry hands. I trust O'Keefe's.
It's America's #1 selling hand cream for guaranteed relief.
If it works for these hands, it'll work for yours.
Also available in O'Keefe's for healthy feet. At Burger King, we flame grill our burgers.
Before the break, we discussed Dalton Knecht's 37-point game, paving the way for the Lakers to defeat the Utah Jazz. We move on to discuss NFL MVP odds. So, updated NFL MVP odds with some big results that happened over this weekend, and there's some, and obviously, interesting candidates here, and they're, the top 5 are all quarterbacks, no surprise here. And Patrick Mahomes, he has dropped down to 4. I'm looking at USA Today's rankings. They have Hurts 5. They have Mahomes 4. They have Jared Goff 3. Lamar 2. And Josh Allen 1. And it's so fascinating how Lamar can go suddenly from being clear-cut out as the MVP to now suddenly it all shifting towards Josh Allen after his big result that he had against Kansas City, and specifically that big play, that big run. But the wild thing is, I believe the MVP is, it almost matters. The biggest and most important thing is almost how you end off, because now Josh Allen is ranked number 1, right? But people tend to forget how the Bills played the Ravens earlier this season, and they got absolutely dog-walked, the Bills did. And Josh Allen did not perform great. He had a few good plays here and there. That touchdown was all him. Or the touchdown drive was all Josh Allen making a play on Scrabble. But he went 16 of 29 that game, 180 yards. And he was dominated. They couldn't stop much of the bleeding. If you look at also another game, the other game that he lost this season, that Josh Allen lost against the Texans, they lose 23-20 in that ball game, and he goes 9 of 30 for 131 yards and a touchdown. And obviously the rest of the numbers are great and the performances are great, but I just want to put things into context. The Chiefs, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. You get by the Colts. You beat Miami in almost essentially a walk-off. Miami's first real game back with Tua. Actually, I believe he played the game earlier. You destroy Seattle, which, again, it's not saying much. There, you destroy Tennessee, and again, the same thing. And then he was great by the Jets. Yeah, I haven't been that impressed with this Bills unit. I think this win against Kansas City is impressive, but also the caveat with the Kansas City win is, you've had relative success over Kansas City the last couple of times in the regular season. When is it the big game you show up? But as far as MVP, look, he's done well. Josh Allen, he's never won an MVP award, but he has finished top 5 in the last 3 out of 4 seasons. And he was actually the runner-up in 2020 when Rodgers won it, and then he was a finalist again in 2022, and then he got 5th place in 2023. The thing with Lamar is, yeah, he lost that game against the Ravens and he struggled, but the numbers are incredible. He has 25 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, throwing 2,876 yards, 117.3 quarterback rating. He's been or passer rating or whatever. He's been elite, not just in terms of throwing the ball, but also moving the ball. I believe I saw a stat that said he was on pace for. Actually, I don't have the stat pulled up. It's something I need to pull up. Yes, but it was an unbelievable stat of how efficient and how dominant he is being, not just with his legs, but also with his arms. And he's able to push the ball down the field, and he's able to deliver accurate footballs and all that. And there was people that doubted him, and I was just like, it's just a little bit of a project with Lamar Jackson. And when he was brought in, he was brought in, I thought originally to be a third stringer, because they really had Robert Griffin there behind Joe Flacco. And, he went into that quarterback room. He got into the into one of the backup roles. And when the opportunity arose, he took advantage of it. And now he is what? A 27-year-old, 2-time MVP. He's absolutely brilliant. And, so I don't know. Him and Josh Allen, it's tight. I think Jared Goff is right there. Look, here's the thing with Jared Goff. And here's how he wins MVP. Chiefs need to start losing a few games so he doesn't get in a race between him and Mahomes. The way Jared Goff wins MVP is he takes advantage of a poor class. He needs Lamar and Josh Allen to have a few stinkers here and there to the end of the season. And he needs to maintain his level, maintain the wins, continue to be number 1 in the NFC. Amon-Ra does. Not Amon-Ra. Jared Goff does. He needs to continue to be that number 1 seed, win games, and play the football that he's been doing. Because, look, it's not the most flashy that Jared Goff is. And the numbers, they will stand out in certain games, but they're not crazy. The play definitely doesn't stand up. But he's making the throws he needs to make. He's being consistent. He's being efficient. And if you are a Detroit Lions fan and you're screaming from the top of your lungs, he is the MVP, well, we can't shame them because, he's playing really, really good football. And he is the quarterback of an elite offense, one of the best position groups, not just for the Detroit Lions, but in terms of football. He has a 73% completion percentage. Jared Goff does. By the way, that 73% completion percentage amongst that is the lead in the NFL amongst quarterbacks who played at least 8 games. And that is completely rare because, the last person to do that is Drew Brees, was 74.4%, and he did that in 2018. Jared Goff is his 4th in passing touchdowns and 9th in yards. He's been impressive. Mahomes being at 4th, no real surprise there. He's only on pace for 25 touchdowns, and he's also on pace for 18th interception. It's been a little bit of a down year for Patrick Mahomes individually, but until this weekend, they were undefeated. But with Mahomes and with this Chiefs team, it really took that one loss for people to start, backing off them. And because they're just, they've been surviving in moments, and it sometimes it can just take that one. But look, the way that they survived, the way that they've been surviving, the way that they started off 9-0 because of that, who's to say that they, that they don't end up just doing it in the Super Bowl again? It's just sad. It's a really harsh reality. And then Jalen Hurts is ranked number 5 according to this website, and I can't say, I think Jalen Hurts has had an up and down last season, this season up to now, but so far he's been flying high. They're 8-2. And they're returning to being that juggernaut of a team that started off 10-1. But the problem with that team is they finished at 7-11-6, and they got completely bull rushed by Tampa Bay. But overall, I think Jalen Hurts, he's picking and choosing moments to push the ball down the field. He's very, very efficient in terms of having a complete quarterback rating of 103.4, and the fact that he's thrown also 2,197 yards, and then 12 touchdowns, and has had 12 touchdowns and only 5 interceptions. And the Eagles continue to have a legitimate path to get that home field advantage. He definitely will be in the MVP race when the time has come to make that decision. He's been great, and so have the Eagles. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will discuss the Jets owner suggesting to bench Aaron Rodgers.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we discussed the NFL MVP. We move on to discuss the report that came out that said basically earlier this season, Woody Allen suggested to, I don't know who, but suggested, I guess, to the coaching staff that Aaron Rodgers should be benched. Or not Woody Allen, the actor, Woody Johnson. And he suggested that Aaron Rodgers be benched according to this so a little bit over a month ago, the Jets owner, Woody Johnson, he fired Robert Saleh. And according to some sources that were really tied to that organization and the Woody Johnson family, they were able to contextualize that it was an owner-driven move, and that the conversations to the future of the franchise and mapping out, what eventually happened to Joe Douglas earlier this week, what could happen to general manager Joe Douglas and then interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich and quarterback Aaron Rodgers. He spoke to them and he had a conversation amongst it, and the strong belief is that regarding all this is that if the Jets if they were able to have a really a good season this year, and they were able to make a good run in the playoffs, that Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas and all that they'll still be part of the setup. But everything started stumbling and fizzling out. They were making mid-season accusations like like Devontae Adams to save their season. And it is what it is. They're now 3-8, and it's just even I couldn't see this coming. And I say even but I was high on the Jets coming in. But even the people that were a little bit pessimistic about Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets and all that, I don't think they saw this coming. 3-8. I'm just so shocked. Like, this team was way better last season with Zach Wilson. And I'm not saying they're better last season. And I'm not saying the difference was the quarterback. Hell no. Hell no. I think Aaron Rodgers is playing much better football than what we saw of Zach Wilson this season. But overall, as a unit, the Jets have became a little stale. Defensively, you only get, in my opinion, a top defense gets like 3 years to be at that level, and then they slowly started fizzling. Because it's hard, defense is all about like continuity and all that. And when you're losing a key player here and there eventually because of contracts or any of that, you tend to lose that continuity, and it creates certain black holes within the defense, and it becomes easy to take advantage of it, whether it's sometimes pass rush, secondary, all that. And I think overall with the Jets, defensively, they didn't take advantage of the top Jets defense when they had the opportunity to. Now the defense started slipping a little bit. I think offensively they looked one-dimensional. Aaron Rodgers never really was able to get on the same rapport with a lot of his receivers early on this season. And also Woody Johnson, he's out here making these decisions to fire Ben Johnson, to fire Dan Campbell, to fire Joe Douglas, apparently this rumor that he wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers. I can promise you that 99% Jets fans would want him fired, would want him to sell the team. But this is not, this is different than European football. Well, they'll make their voice known and they'll go out on the streets and protest about it. That won't happen here. There'll be a journalist here and there that calls him a terrible owner, and then that journalist will eventually get threatened to get fired, or he will have to report an apology, and it's like everything goes back to order once again. Everything's like so filtered here. And is it the fact that they're just fans are just more passionate in England compared to here? Or not specific England, but Europe in general? I don't think that's the case. Obviously cultural difference has something to do with it as well. But overall, Woody Johnson is a big problem. Is a big problem with these Jets. I still think the emotional embarrassment of losing to a bunch of your constituents, because he was a former diplomat in that game against that Vikings, in which the name is mistaken in my mind. Woody Johnson. When you see the Jets lose and Woody Johnson is a former diplomat to the UK. When you see your team lose in front of a bunch of in London, next to all your constituents and your peers, it's a different level of embarrassment to it, and he almost made an emotional decision based on that. That's what I believe. And overall, how many head coaches, how many GMs, how many quarterbacks, how many rosters, how many years has he gone through and haven't sniffed any success? In my football watching lifetime, Jets never made the playoffs. And I don't remember. I didn't have cognitive memory of them. I know the Rex Ryan happened, and that era happened early 2010s, I believe, or late 2000s and all that. But I didn't see that team. Other than that, I've seen the mediocrity years of having Geno Smith, having Daniel Jones, having this guy, having that guy, the Sam Darnold there, and this. No continuity at the quarterback position. And when you never have continuity at the quarterback position, you cannot have continuity as an organization, as a team, because the quarterback is the most important position. You can argue in all of sports. The importance of a quarterback, that you don't have a quarterback, you're not moving the ball offensively. You're just not moving the ball offensively. The era, in any era, you don't have a quarterback, you cannot move the ball, period. And yeah, Woody Johnson, he's just been terrible. He's been a terrible owner, and he wants to blame everything but besides himself. And yeah, regarding him wanting to suggest it to bench Aaron Rodgers, again, it just proves my point regarding the fact that he made a point. It gives a little bit more validity to my theory that he made an emotional decision after losing in UK, in next to his constituents and all that. When you lose a game, and that game, I believe it was after that Broncos game, which was week 3 or something. When you lose that game, and that's one of their thoughts to come up, maybe suggesting that you bench Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers, that we know what he's done in his career. It just proves to me it's just way too emotional, and people at that highest level of decision making should never be making emotional decisions. That won't do any well to your team going forward, or it's just the truth there. But yeah, I'm a little surprised on how bad they've been. I thought this was a team that can go into the playoffs and compete with Kansas City and all them. Man, I was completely wrong. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will discuss the top NFL head coaches on the hot seat. Before the break, we discussed the Jets owner suggesting to bench Aaron Rodgers. We move on to discuss some of the top NFL head coaches on the hot seat. Or they're not top NFL head coaches, or else they wouldn't be on this list, but some of the head coaches that are on the hot seat. Obviously, the list is fluid, and some of these coaches might start going soon. You know, so far the only move that happened is Robert Saleh. Let me get these out of the... Okay. So there's a list in terms of ranking. They're obviously done. For me, Matt Eberflus, he's done. You know, he had his chance this season. The main thing that the main progress that I guess was important for him is to get that proper offensive coordinator in that can help turn Caleb Williams transition into NFL quarterback and offer up a stellar rookie campaign out of him. Well, not only has that been a complete and utter failure in terms of that, well, he's already gone. So, yeah, and then, some of the late game execution in both the Packers and Commanders game, some of the mistakes that they made, some of the coaching failures. Eberflus, he's done. Another one I think he's done is Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy, he's been on thin ice for a pretty long time now. Even with the 12 and 5 stars, people were very hypercritical on him, and justifiably so. Some decision making was poor. Sometimes it was, clock management issues. Not clock management issues, but sometimes it was not challenging the right moments, lack of discipline amongst the team, in terms of turnovers committed and all that. And yeah, his message has gone stale, it seems like, and I just think they need a new voice. And with potential coaches like Greg Popovich and Bill Belichick and Deion Sanders being out there, yeah, I think McCarthy, he's done. Zach Taylor is an interesting one. I've always thought that Zach Taylor was going on a little bit of a ride because of the quality of the players like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. And I thought Leon Anarumo was a really, really good defensive coordinator. I don't know what happened to them this season. But these slow starts are going to be the death of Zach Taylor. This season now they're 4-7, and it seems like they're done, and they don't make the playoffs. Well, someone has to pay for it, and I think Zach Taylor will be the one. And yeah, I just don't think the scheme that they run in Cincinnati gets the players playing at a higher level than their quality. And as a coach, you need to be able to do that. And I don't think Zach Taylor does. I don't think Zach Taylor gets the best out of the quality of the players there. Kevin Stefanski, I heard he was the one on the hot seat. I don't think that's ridiculous. He's a 2-time Coach of the Year, and he's had to deal with a lot in terms of what to deal with in this Cleveland Browns organization. And for me, he's an absolutely brilliant head coach. Kevin Stefanski is. What he has done, what he did last season as well, to go through some of the quarterbacks he did and a lot of the injuries that they suffered as a team, and to get into the playoffs the way that they did. Yes, they didn't win a playoff game. And by the way, Stefanski has won a playoff game in his career. He made that divisional round, I believe it was the 2021 season. Yeah, I don't see him reason why he's on this list. I think Antonio Pierce as well. That one is an interesting one because we know what the Raiders are. They are in a little bit of a transition, and they're building towards the future. Pierce is a guy that's loved in the locker room, and he has that. He's part of the brotherhood. He's not just he's not just a leader man, but he's part of the brotherhood. So for me, I think that's a little premature. The interesting ones here are Doug Peterson and Brian Daboll. Look, Jacksonville it's been a mess, and it seems like the end of the road is coming. But I have some sympathy for Doug Peterson. I thought what he did that year that they made the playoffs and they won a playoff game. I was very impressed with the scheme of that Jacksonville Jaguars team. what he was able to do immediately with Trevor Lawrence, have him looking like a way better quarterback than he did his rookie season. And you know, the fact that he is a Super Bowl winning coach, you know, those are factors to it. How many Super Bowl winning coaches will a team like, will an organization like the Jacksonville Jaguars be able to have at the realm? How many times do you think they'll be able to get a manager that's accomplished what Doug Peterson has accomplished in the NFL? None. And sorry, technical difficulties there. And I do think the players have something to do with it as well. They're not performing at the level of play as you expect them to do. And you know, that is a problem. But I have sympathy for him, and they started off 0-4 and they've never recovered, and then there's been interesting questions that he's had to face in the press conference. It's actually pretty funny. I saw this on the on the Pat McAfee show. One question they asked him regarding whether or not he's considered, handing over play calling duties, and he waited for a second, and he was like, "We're considering everything." And then there was another one where he was asked about Shad Khan, in a conversation, labeling this team as one of the greatest team of all time, and Doug Peterson responded basically saying, I'm not I'm not part of all these conversations, blah 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 blah. And then when the journalist did a follow up and they asked him, "Is this what you told Shad Khan? Did he get this sentiment from you regarding this team being one of the greatest or the greatest team of all time?" And it was so funny. Doug Peterson was like, "No, that was not me." That had me dying. That really did. And another interesting one as well in terms of coaches, and he's not in this top 6, is Brian Daboll. Another losing season for Brian Daboll in his third year. So third year with the Giants, and again, it has a lot to do with the failure of Daniel Jones, and that's I thought what he accomplished his rookie season was so impressive. Brian Daboll, or his rookie season, his first season coaching for the Giants, getting that team to the playoffs and winning the playoff game, but since then it's just been so stale, and that one is gonna be really interesting if he regains the belief of this Giants organization and that they do retain him, because that one is overall interesting, but I don't know. I really don't know. Thank you guys though for tuning in to the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. So thank you once again, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't want